that final week, like when we were at the Orange Bowl, that's when it was on. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps, man.
Oh, man, I just think Coach Franklin is coaching with a level of confidence in his players that I haven't seen him coach with really since we were there.
What I've been seeing is winner gets scrammed.
This is Coach Franklin. You're watching Nittany Sports Huddle.
Welcome, everybody, to Sports Huddle UnBlinded, the Orange Bowl preview. Happy New Year. Happy game week. Penn State football is in the national semifinal, the Orange Bowl on Thursday. It's a rivalry renewed, the Nittany Lions and the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. And to break down all things Penn State football, we have a star-studded list of guests on this episode. Alex Brulliea, Quintus McDonald, Jason Cabinda. Guys, great to have you on today. Let's talk some Penn State football.
Outstanding. Thank you for being a part of this unprecedented show, and all of you for joining us 100%, because we are
Penn State. Exactly. All of us proud Penn Staters. Let's get into some introductions. We're going to start with Alex. Alex was Nittany Sports Huddle's first intern almost a decade ago. And for those of you watching today, you might remember the Nittany Sports Huddle days. Ended right around COVID, but I was blessed to be a part of it with Quintus and Penn State, fellow Penn State legend in Blair Thomas, covering Penn State sports from about 2013 or so up to 2020. Had an awesome run there, and we're kind of rekindling things. So Alex was the very first intern about a decade ago, starting with the team back in October 2015. Graduated from Penn State in 2016 with a bachelor's degree in information sciences and technology, and then later picked up a master's degree in 2022. He now works for Altria as an associate manager of data engineering and recently relocated back to Allentown, PA, with his wife, Caitlin, and 10-month-old son, Hudson. So, Alex, great to see you. As you look back to your days with Nittany Sports Huddle, what kind of impact did that experience have on you?
It was huge. I mean, people saw that on my resume, and it was just like, it was a game changer, but just having that experience, being able to work with Quintus and Blair and still have that connection today. I mean, we fell off for a little bit, but we still connect every once in a while, and happy to be here and just connect again.
Well, it's great to connect with you once again. And Quintus McDonald is the man that has brought us all together, somebody who I'm lucky to call a friend and a mentor, of course, a Penn State legend, 1986 national champion, which, hey, let's Quintus, I know that you take great pride in that, but I hope that after a couple weeks from now, you are no longer the last team to win a Penn State national championship. Let's change that on January 20th. In addition to his days at Penn State, he was the Indianapolis Colts 1991 Ed Block Courage Award winner, which is the Comeback Player of the Year, the founder and creator of Nittany Sports Huddle, the executive director of I Am Recycling, Inc., and a business acceleration actualizer. Q, great to see you, my friend.
Absolutely. Great to see you, John, as well as Alex and Jason, all of us being here together. Really, it's a breath of fresh air to see you all, to be around such young, vibrant energy with all of you doing such tremendous things out in the world today. It really does do us proud for what we've accomplished at Nittany Sports Huddle.
Awesome. And our last guest is a very, very special guest, somebody who was doing his thing up at Happy Valley when I was a student, was part of that 2016 Big Ten championship team that brought Penn State back to where Penn State belongs as a national championship contender year in, year out. His name is Jason Cabinda, former all Big Ten linebacker, played fullback in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. And beyond football, he has some media experience as well, hosting the Penn State football radio pregame show, also does some work postgame with another Penn State legend in Christian Hackenberg. Jason, thanks for hopping on today.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Really excited for the conversation that's going to unfold today.
Of course. And I'd love to know, as you know, you and Quintus, both proud Penn State lettermen and both members of the iconic linebacker U. When you think about the Penn State network and the Penn State football letterman network in particular, what kind of impact have they had on your football career and career outside of football?
I'll tell you what, man, it's such a blessing to go to a place like Penn State because Penn Staters help Penn Staters out. And our alumni network is just so vast. I was golfing the other day with one of my golf buddies. He's telling me about a Penn State bar that's like 10 minutes down the street from my house. I'm like, are you serious? The Penn State bar all the way down here in South Florida? Ended up checking it out to go watch one of the games the other day. And it's like, dude, we are absolutely everywhere. And I think anytime I need help with something, anytime I have an idea, anytime I'm looking to branch out into a space, the first thing that comes to my head is, who do I know out of our football lettermen that are already inside of this space? Who do I know that are alumni that I've connected with that are working this space? Because I know for a fact if I reach out, man, they're going to help out or do whatever they can to use their resources to help me be in position. So it's an absolute blessing to have gone to a place like Penn State because that stuff in terms of the alumni base and the connection and the networking is very, very real.
I love that. And I'll tell you this quick funny story. Whenever we talk about the Penn State network, this always comes to mind. I went with my family when I was in high school to China, and we get to the Shanghai airport. And my dad went to Penn State, so we were a Penn State family growing up. We're wearing Penn State stuff. We are in the Shanghai China airport, and some guy yells, "We are" to us. He was a fellow Penn Stater. So we are literally everywhere. So no network like the Penn State network. And my name is Jon Gross, everybody. For those who were fans of Nittany Sports Huddle back in the day, I was one of the hosts on the show. I'm currently a play-by-play broadcaster living in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I work up and down the East Coast. So looking forward to talking some Penn State football today. And guys, let's dive into it. This team is in the midst of something very special. Playoff win at home over SMU, 38-10. Then beat Boise State 31-14 in the Fiesta Bowl, moving to 8-0 in the Fiesta Bowl all time. Jason, we'll start with you. What have you learned about this year's Penn State football team over these last two games?
I just think this is a really, really resilient group. I think things that we've been talking about all year long, especially the run game and how your run game travels, man, whether it's cold weather, hot weather, whether things ain't going right in the pass game. Man, when you have a good run game, we got two great backs. We got some tight ends that can block in Ty Warren, Khalil Dinkins. Like, that's going to travel no matter where you play, where you go. And having a great run game is great to have late in the year. And that's something that we've seen time and time and again. We saw Nick and Katron both go for over 100 in this last game. And we just need to continue to lean on that run game. But it's a resilient group. This group has gone through a lot of challenges. The Wisconsin game, Drew Aller goes down. We have to go to our backup quarterback. He's able to come in there and win that game for us. Against USC on the road in the Coliseum, we're down 2 scores for the first time this season. What do? We come back and win the game in overtime. So this team has gone through challenges. It's seen adversity. It's got a lot of character to it. We know what they're made of. So I'm really excited about this Penn State group because I feel like they can face any challenge that comes their way.
Jason, you mentioned the running game of this Penn State football team. It seems like things really started to click in that Oregon game, and they've continued that. Quintus, I know we were talking earlier in the week. At times, it seemed like Penn State against Boise State went away from running the football. What do you think about that, and would you like to see them run the ball a little bit more?
I absolutely. I love the word that Jason used when he talks with resilience. This is an absolutely a resilient group of young men that showed up. Where I know we're on the offensive side of the ball, and yes, we must stick to the bread and butter. A running football team is going to win more games than not, simply because you eat up the clock, you keep control of the clock, you keep control of the ball, and you get into the end zone. When you're able to capitalize and get into the end zone, not kick field goals, you have control and command of the game without a doubt when you have a strong running attack. We must stay focused in that area. Certainly you want to stretch the field. We've got the athletes on the outside. We've got obviously the best tight end in college football, so he can stretch the middle of the field and horizontally. So do some things with the linebackers because of that passing attack to open up the run game. So there's a way to have a delicate balance. We just can't afford to get cute and start doing some fancy things, trying to look good versus getting the job done. You punch them in the mouth. You keep punching them in the mouth until they give up. They're just a bloody mess, and we've dominated the clock and we've dominated the scoreboard and win the game. So that's I agree with Jason. in that point about our running attack, two-headed monster. You can't. How do you defeat that if we stick to what we have the capacity to do? And then once again, if they begin to tighten up the box, we've got the athletes to stretch the field and open up the running lanes.
Yeah, I'd actually love to expand on what Q just said a little bit there. I think especially if you put a microscope on this Boise State game, because it's hard to sit here and say, hey, we need to get away from the gimmicky stuff. We're getting a little too cute, X, Y, and Z, because I do feel like at this point in the season, the gimmicks and the tricks and the formation changes and the shifts, a lot of that is just the identity of the offense. And what I don't want to do is to stray away from who we are as an identity, because it's been clear that throughout this year, Coach AK has been very, very consistent with doing those types of things. So I'm okay with it. I just felt like during that Boise State game, there came a point where we broke a couple runs, or we were just pounding them, where it just felt like up front, they literally just couldn't keep up with us. We could have just lined up, no formation shifts, no nothing, and just ran the ball down their throat. And I feel like we have to have the intelligence during the game to make those adjustments to say, hey, like, this ain't needed. We could just freaking line up and run outside zone, and we're going to just get running. That's what I would have loved to see in that Boise State game. Now, moving forward, as these opponents are getting tougher and tougher, I don't want us to stray away from our identity, but to be able to recognize that, like, hey, man, if something ain't broken, don't fix it. Just freaking go. And that's what I would have loved to see in that Boise State game. And we got back to it. I felt like we had a little stretch where we got too gimmicky and cute, and AK kind of felt that, and we kind of just got back to our base run game, and it got going after that. So he at least caught that during that game, and I'd love to see that moving forward.
I agree. I agree with the identity, and you give the defensive coordinator some more work to do. They've got more work to do. You can't just really focus in on between the tackles and off tackle when you've got an offensive coordinator who has proven that he'll put together some things that just don't look normal, some abstract formations and such. And Alex, you playing, semi-pro football and your Penn State football experience, what are your thoughts regarding the abstract plays? I don't like gimmick. They're gimmicky, but I like abstract just because we're Penn State. No gimmicks, abstract.
So I actually had a thought on that, and we've seen a lot from AK this season, but how much more does he have in that bag of tricks that we have not seen yet, that nobody's seen, that we could be seeing this week, next week, or 2 weeks from now? What more does he have that nobody's seen yet? I think he still has a ton.
The well is deep. I got a feeling that the well is deep.
Yeah, this guy is so creative. And looking at the defensive side, obviously the big storyline from that game, Abdul Carter suffering an injury. Hopefully we'll see him. We'll dive into that a little bit later on as for what to expect in the Orange Bowl. But we have two defensive standouts here, Jason and Quintus. I'd love to get your perspective on how the defense rallied without Abdul Carter playing. Jason, we'll start with you.
I'll tell you what, man, and I talked about this in the beginning of the season, but I feel like the growth of the linebacker group. We knew the D-line group was going to be great, obviously headlined by Abdul that you just talked about before. There's Denai Dennis Sutton, Zane Durant, Devon Elliott's in there. They've been doing a great job all year long. But I feel like, man, there's been a ton of growth in the maturity and the instincts and the way that these linebackers are out there communicating and getting guys lined up between Kobe King, Tony Rojas, and then Dom DeLuca he's just a splash playmaker. The dude was a walk-on. He's earned a scholarship. It's when Dom makes plays, it's sack, it's pick six, it's pick, it's deflection. He's a splash playmaker. I just love the growth of Dom DeLuca and really the confidence that the coaches have in him to put him out there and be able to make a play. And then Kobe in the middle has just been doing such a good job playing quarterback of that defense, getting everybody lined up. I see how demonstrative he's become, especially in these last 6 weeks in terms of getting guys lined up, make sure the D-line's in the right gaps, having the blitz call. He's just doing a great job. He's playing sideline to sideline. And then Tony Rojas, man, this is a dude who can really, really develop into a first or second round draft pick. He's just so natural. He's got great feet. In the beginning of the year, I thought tackling for him was a little bit of an issue, but the way he was getting to the tackles You could tell the talent was there. He just needed to finish some plays. And now in this back half of the season, we're seeing Tony start to finish a lot of these plays that in the beginning of the year, he was just right there. And that's what I love, that I just feel like this linebacker crew is really peaking at the right time. Obviously, we lost KJ Winston early in the year, which could have been a huge blow to this defense. We all know how talented KJ Winston is, but man, the Key Wheatley has really stepped up. We saw him get that the Fiesta Bowl MVP at the end of the game, and then Jalen Reed all year long. I mean, how about that guy? He's just playing. He's just been playing with his hair on fire all year long. So, I mean, I love this defense. I love the way that they're playing. And at the end of the day, man, that's an expectation at Penn State football. Expectation at Penn State football is that no matter what anything else looks like, that Penn State defense is going to be legit and it's going to be excellent. And I feel like they're upholding that standard.
100%. I agree with your synopsis overall, Jason, because I had some worries in the beginning of the year with our tackling. Of course, the guys up front were taking up space and holding blockers and getting to the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. But our linebackers weren't tackling. They were missing some filling the gaps wrong, late, a step off, a step slow. And now they are firing on all cylinders and rounding out at the perfect time to go and shut down a very thorough running attack for Notre Dame. But when I think of Notre Dame and they're running the ball, and looking at how our linebackers specifically have progressed through the season, are tackling better. They're getting better fit into their gaps. They're lining up, getting themselves lined up, and the defensive line. I mean, sometimes a half a step makes the complete difference in a touchdown run or a tackle for a loss. And our backers are playing that quarterback position, if you will, on defense and getting the front four set up, and they're getting to their fit, getting to their gaps on time, getting to backs out of the backfield. We were a little slow of foot for that early in the season, and they're seeing it. Recognition is higher. They're seeing the play, and that it's evident that they're putting in more time in the film room to be able to diagnose at a quicker, just diagnose the play and get moving. So I'm very excited and feel really good about us stopping the run game of Notre Dame on this week.
Yep.
Especially given what Penn State was able to do against Ashton Genty, one of the best running backs in college football history. Okay, so Penn State wins 2 top 10 games. One of the big storylines about James Franklin in this program, they can't win the big game. I've always felt that's a ridiculous thing because it's so tough to beat teams who you're not supposed to beat. I think Coach Franklin has done an incredible job at Penn State. But Alex, I'd love to hear from your perspective, and you're, of course, in tune with a lot of fans and fellow alums. Do you feel that by winning these 2 top 10 games in win or go home situations, in blowout fashion, 1 game 4 scores, 1 game 3 scores, has that started to change that perception about James Franklin and Penn State football?
100%. And he's still got more to prove, but they're proving all the doubters wrong so far. Everyone's coming back with the counterpoint that, they're not real top 10 teams. They shouldn't have been in the playoffs to begin with. They're in the playoffs. They're here. Somebody decided these teams need to be here. Penn State has beat them in deciding fashion, but it's still not enough. I think it's enough, and I can't wait to see where the rest of the season goes, but still more to prove from the broader fan base is what I'm hearing.
They keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
Right. They keep moving the goalposts.
And here's the thing. These are 2 conference champs.
Yes.
Let's not forget this Boise State team took Oregon down to the last second.
Yep.
Like, are we forgetting that? This Oregon team that's undefeated, that's the best team in the Big Ten, and the Boise State team took them all the way to the last second, and we just manhandled that
was their
team.
Only loss.
And we're going to sit here and act like that's not a big win. SMU won the ACC, and I know the ACC is not the greatest conference this year. They weren't an amazing conference. I get it. But that's a conference champ of a Power 4 conference. I mean, what more could you ask for? And at the end of the day, this is go win or go home. This is win or go home. The circumstances don't get bigger than this. And now we've won 2 in a row. So at this point in time, if you're still bitching and crying that, oh, Coach Franklin isn't one of the big games, and guess what? You're full of crap. That's how I see it. So,
amen.
Good point. Good point. And listen, I'll be the first to admit I had an issue with end of game breakdowns, the use of unnecessary use of timeouts, and some of the things that have happened with Coach Franklin's past. To see him now steady, there's a whole different demeanor toward these 2 games, because the players have just come out. The game plan was such, and the players executed at such a high level that there was no end of game nervousness, or the players took that off the table. But I have seen his demeanor change, and I really believe I don't believe that Thursday night will be a blowout. I think that it's going to be a to the vest game, and we'll get an opportunity. And I just truly believe that he's going to be at his very best for this game. You know, when I look at, I'm still, you look at what Ohio State did to Oregon, and what we had Ohio State. There's no reason you don't score a touchdown first and goal inside the 5. You've got to put the ball in the end zone. Exactly. Yep. 2 times. You've got to put the ball in the end zone. So that's where we had Ohio State on the ropes. So we've proven that we've got the athletic talent. And okay, we checked the box for what we didn't do. We've got the film. We've got the tape to go back and look and see what mistakes we made inside that 5-yard line to improve on that. And I believe that Coach Franklin, as the head coach, his demeanor is such that he's prepared and will be prepared to move forward and on Thursday. And I'm fired up to be back on his, I pat him on the back again, because I've been upside the head for a while. Like, come on, coach. And here we are with his evolution. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I think the switch flipped, not only in him, but in the entire team in that Big Ten championship game. You saw something different. It wasn't the same team that we've seen all season long. And that team has grown even more in these first few playoff games.
Dude, I'd agree 100%. I think, Q, you really hit it when you talk about Coach Franklin's demeanor. I've been talking about it on the pregame show all year long. It just feels like Coach Franklin is coaching with a level of conviction that he didn't used to coach with before. Before, it was too much based on analytics and what made sense and playing it safe and this, that, and the third. And now it's simply, you know what? I believe in our players. Roll them out there on 4th down. I believe in our players. It's the end of this. It's the end of the first half. We're not going to settle for a field goal. We're not going to settle for knees and we'll just breathe and wait till the second half. No, we're going to put Drew Aller in there and we're going to run 2 minutes. We're going to go score. And we saw that in the UCLA game when it was still a very close game in the first half. Drew goes out there, the minute and 30 seconds goes against us, a touchdown. Almost happened against Ohio State game, a very fluke interception at the end of that first half. But Drew drove that ball all the way down the field, then throws a fade ball to Harrison Wallace that just ended up being a little unlucky, and Ohio State picked it off. But, man, imagine we scored that touchdown right there. That changes the whole outlook of that game. Absolutely. So, just in general, man, I just think Coach Franklin is coaching with a level of confidence in his players that I haven't seen him coach with really since we were there.
Jason, what does that do for you as a player when your coach has that belief in his team?
I mean, it's huge. It's huge, and we talk about this all the time in terms of confidence and how coaches can empower their players to play at their best. And anytime we talk about this, the first situation that comes to mind is Tua Tagovailoa, and him having Brian Flores as his coach. And he goes on a podcast with Ryan Clark and talks about, man, like Brian Flores was just coaching me into the dirt. My confidence was nothing. I didn't feel like myself. This is a dude who won a national championship in Alabama. Then Coach Mike McDaniels comes in, and Tua just looks like a whole different player. He said their first meeting, he came in, and Coach Mike says, "You're the perfect guy for the job. When I knew I was coming here, there's literally not another quarterback in the league I'd rather have than you." And he's like, "Whoa, this is a change of scenery." And then we've seen Tua and the way he's played over these past couple of years, and it's been a complete transformation. So, man, it is huge when a coach is able to instill his confidence in his players, because it allows players to get to their ceiling and to believe in themselves. I mean, we know how it is playing at this level of college football. If you're not there mentally, you ain't got it mentally, that belief in self, you're not going anywhere. So I just feel like that confidence that he's instilling in his players, everybody's playing with it. And it's really infectious right now on this team.
Love it. Well, they've been so fun to watch. And hey, let's start diving into Thursday's game. This is a rivalry renewed. Anybody who's been following college football for a long time knows that when you're looking pre-Penn State joining the Big Ten, the two best independents were Penn State and Notre Dame. And Q, you played in 4 of those games. You went 3-1 of those games, winning record against the Fighting Irish in your career. Penn State 9-1 all-time against the Fighting Irish. Last played in 2007. I was at that game. It was epic, the first ever full stadium whiteout. Q, when you look back to your days playing against Notre Dame, what comes to mind?
Rivalry, hyper focus. The early years, they were kind of rebuilding, and we had a very mature team. My freshman year, I played with a lot of guys who were 5th-year seniors, a lot of guys who were redshirt juniors. And so Notre Dame was in a rebuilding mode. By my junior year, they were solid and strong. Lou Holtz had come in and resurrected the program to its former glory, and Tim Brown was looking at the Heisman Trophy. They had Tony Rice. They had a bevy of talent. So it was something that was always marked on the calendar. Along with Pittsburgh, we would end our season with either Notre Dame or Pitt. So it was always marked on the calendar. We always knew that it was there. And that week of preparation was always like, well, I can't say none other, because Alabama, that week of preparation was extremely high as well. We played Alabama 4 times while I was in school. They were one of our rivals as well. So those games, the Notre Dame, the Alabama, and believe it or not, Boston College, those games were earmarked where you knew that you had to come in at the very highest level. So this is a special week for many of us old heads, to relive some old glory. Yes, indeed.
And Alex, I know that, listen, you're the only Pennsylvania native on this show. The rest of us are Jersey guys. We won't hold it against you, though, Alex. We all love Pennsylvania, too. But, hey, from what I've heard, Notre Dame might be the second most popular team in Pennsylvania. So Penn State, Notre Dame, the national semifinals. What does this game mean in the state of PA?
What I've been seeing is winner gets Scranton. I don't know if I want that.
Big stakes.
Yes. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, I never knew there were that many Notre Dame fans in PA to begin with. I didn't even know that was like such a thing.
Yeah, my dad always said it. Hey, there's a lot of Notre Dame fans in PA. I probably didn't realize it until this week either, Jason, seeing everything on social media, talk about this rivalry. This is going to be epic. One of the other big storylines in this game, in addition to the rivalry and the magnitude of this game, this will result in, for the first time ever, a black head coach coaching for an FBS national championship, either James Franklin or Marcus Freeman. This is something that James Franklin has talked about for a very long time. He wants to make history as the first black coach to win an FBS national championship. This is truly a historic moment. What does a moment like this mean? And Jason, you played for Coach Franklin. What does this opportunity mean to him?
I know it means a ton to him. I remember just, talking with Coach Franklin, even in private, this has been one of his goals that he's had for a very long time. This is probably one of his pinnacle goals, to be able to win a national championship as one of the first black head coaches, or the first black head coach ever. So obviously it has a lot of importance for Coach Franklin. It has a lot of importance from a historic standpoint. I think for me For me, I care more so about the way that we talk about it or the how that we talk about it. I do agree it needs to be talked about, but in the fashion in which we talk about it, I think matters. I think, obviously Black people in this country were held down for a long time, and now we've had these opportunities to reach even the biggest pinnacles that this country has to offer. We've had a Black president, but I think to me, the way I look at it is, what do you expect? That's how I think of it. Is what do you expect? I know how talented we are as a people, how much we bring to the table from a culture standpoint. It only makes sense that now that we're free to do what we want to do, that we reach every pinnacle we possibly can. So that's how I see it. I don't look at the conversation as, we've given a bunch of Make-A-Wish kids opportunity. Like, no, I think we're very, very great people. I think we're super smart, super athletic. I mean, I just think it makes sense that now that we have the freedom to do what we want, that we reach all the highest of highs that we can. It only makes sense. It's great that it's happening now. It should have happened so much sooner, but it's an amazing thing, without a doubt, from a historical standpoint.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more, Jason. I love that perspective of the how we talk about it, because when we look at the facts that there's more than 150 plus FBS colleges out there, opportunities, and there's only 15 Black head coaches. So that says something about the system that is running all of this. And you look back in history, it was less than 75 years ago that Black men were being lynched and killed and murdered here in this country without any provocation and without any any justice being had for their lives. So to go from that in less than a century, to go from that place to a position where someone saw enough of what you just said, Jason, intelligent enough, athletic enough, had the capacity to lead and mastery in those areas. Someone looked and said, you know what? I'm going to look beyond their skin color, because the people who are in position to make those decisions still look like the ones that were murdering us not very long ago. It doesn't mean that their heart is set that way, but to do nothing in an area, you're making a decision. Your decision to do nothing, to not hire a person simply because of the color of their skin, you're doing something. That's it. That is, you're holding back history, you're holding back opportunity. But because our university and Notre Dame University made the decisions that they made about these two young men, and then, quite frankly, our university sticking and staying with Coach Franklin, when I was like, man, there was a time I'm thinking, well, who else is out there? And there was no one else out there. And then our university gave him another contract and more opportunity. And it's showing that they made a fantastic investment. And that's really what it's about. Where are these universities, these board of directors, willing to make an investment in human capital without take away the ideas, the old rundown ideas that this country and culture in the United States was really built and founded on.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. And again, James Franklin, 2 wins away from achieving that historic milestone. As we look ahead to this game, we know Coach Franklin loves to talk about the 1-0 mentality. Jason, you've been in that locker room. You've played in a Big Ten championship, a Rose Bowl. Is that real? Is the preparation, is the mindset 1-0 leading into this game the same as it was leading into the Kent State game?
I mean, the way I look at it, it has to be, because the reality of the situation, if you lose, you go home. There ain't going to be another 1-0 to think about if you lose this game. So, I mean, you have to pour absolutely everything you possibly can into this 1 week. Your Monday, whatever it looks like, normally during the year, it has to be your best Monday you've ever had. Whatever you normally do on a Tuesday from a preparation standpoint, whether it's first and second down, whether it's whichever film you choose, to, whatever games you watch one more game, do one more, watch one more cut up, so that's really what it's about. At this stage of the season, it's about who is preparing the best, who is not cutting corners because we've done this 13, 14 weeks in a row and I got my process. I know how to prepare. I know who is even at this stage of the season saying I can get even better on this Tuesday. I can get even better on this Wednesday leading to the game. That's what it's about. That's what ends up separating guys. So, I know Coach Franklin from a mindset standpoint, he's always done such a good job of making sure the team is even keeled and is staying humble and is not satisfied and not complacent. So I already know from a mindset standpoint, these guys are going to be prepared to where they need to be, and they're hungry. They're hungry. They're tired of hearing about 2016. They're tired of hearing about the Big Ten champ. They're tired of it. They're ready to write their own names in the Penn State lore of history. So I'm excited for these guys and the massive opportunity that they have in front of them.
Q, you've played in 2 national championship games. You won in '86. What are the emotions like leading up to a game of this magnitude?
For us, it was so different because we had a full month of preparation, literally, for the national championship games. So there was a building, and everything Jason just said. You have that Monday must be the best Monday of the season, and if nothing else, better than the previous Monday. And you have an opportunity to build on that now because everything has been crunched down in the time frame. The fact that they had 2 games to play and they've got that film and they've got the film from practice, all of that, the focus. I can't even imagine how incredibly zoned in the entire organization must be right now. It's amazing, and I get excited because that final week, like when we were at the Orange Bowl, that's when it was on. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps, man.
Ready to put the pads on.
It was on the next level once we arrived on site. So, where they've got to be. It's an intensity that's palpable, that you can feel like someone that's outside of the group. If they walked into a room that this group of it, just say the linebacker room, if someone who's not a Penn State player, who's not affiliated with the organization, but's coming into that room maybe for an interview or something like that, they would absolutely be able to feel the energy, what's going on, and then the calm demeanor on the surface until you get a chance to pull that helmet on. When you've put on all of your gear, laced up your cleats, when you slide the helmet on, it's just beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
I think it's even worth talking about, even Coach Franklin in his press conferences, he said, we've had to take a different approach to a couple of these games and it be more of just a business trip because, me and Q know when you go to bowl games, normally you have a whole week and a half or whatever it is that you're out there. You've got bowl events, this bowl dinner, okay, sponsored by PlayStation. So now you go to the whole team goes to the PlayStation suite. And I'm very sure there are many things on the schedule that Coach Franklin is just Xing out. Like, we ain't got time for that. We don't have time for that. So he's doing his best to keep these things like game weeks because that's just what you got to do. That's the level that you got to lock in at. We ain't got time for all the extracurriculars and the bowl activities and the happy hour here for the donors over. Like, we ain't got time for all that, man. I just know Coach Franklin's locked in on we need to go win a national championship. So I know these guys are locked in.
That's a beautiful thing. You forgot who I played for. None of that stuff. We didn't do it. We had there was always one event that we did during bowl week, and we would always do it collectively as a team. Even, specifically for when we were playing for against Oklahoma for the national championship and then against Miami, there was one event period that during bowl week that we all attended. And even my junior year, we were playing in the Citrus Bowl with, you want to go and win the game. We didn't even know. I didn't even know that all of that stuff was going on, bro, because it wasn't even on the schedule. Yeah. But the Citrus Bowl, I'm like, wow, there's a lot happening here. He let us, he gave us some freedom. So Absolutely. I'm sure Coach Franklin has X'd out a number of things. It must be a business trip because this is the business that we're in. We're in the business of creating and continuing a legendary program, a historic program, and taking it back to where it's supposed to be. I mean, that Big Ten championship, Coach didn't get in the way. You guys played, balled out, and made plays. He made the choice to go for it on 4th and 1 on our side of the field. That was the greatest coaching decision that he's made, and called the right play. I said, yeah, he's our coach. He's our coach. That changed the game. And then, of course, Marcus and Haley made the big play again on 4th and 1 when they had the ball. You know, the same two that made the big play to get us there with the block kick and scoop and score. It was just amazing. A tremendous feat for, and sometimes coaches need to stay out of the way of the players. And he did that day. He made the call that was necessary, and then he got out of the way, and you guys did it in between the lines. And that's what I'm expecting on Thursday.
Yeah. All right, about 7 minutes left in this one. Let's dive into Notre Dame. A couple of things that stand out to me about this game in general. Of course, the mystery surrounding Abdul Carter, that's going to loom large. But Notre Dame got here by beating Indiana by 10, beat Georgia by 13, and that game benefited from a kick return touchdown and a late first half strip sack. Notre Dame, they have a really good pass rush led by a former Penn Stater and defensive coordinator Al Golden. Keep in mind, though, Penn State did handle Boise State's pass rush very well. Boise State second nationally in sacks per game. On offense, led by running back Jeremiah Love, though he's been limited in practice this week. Yesterday, took reps with the twos, had a big knee brace as well. In terms of passing the ball, they don't have any receivers with over 500 receiving yards. They also have a dangerous mobile quarterback in Riley Leonard, over 800 rushing yards on the season. So, Alex, we'll start with you here. What are you looking out for in this Orange Bowl matchup?
Riley Leonard's legs. Like, that is going to be the biggest issue in my perspective here. We've faced mobile quarterbacks. We've held them pretty much in check, but when the defense gets spread out, he runs. They're going to pick up those quick first downs. Got to bounce back from that and stop them, spy him, do something. Hopefully Abdul Carter's back and we can use him as a spy, but we need to do something. I'm sure Jason or Quintus, you have something in mind for how to stop him and that offensive attack. But passing, he had 90 yards passing?
90. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. I mean, especially I think this is definitely one of those games that's going to come down to the quarterback play. I think we have the edge in terms of quarterback play. I think Drew's a better passer for sure than Riley. I think Riley has the edge in terms of using his feet. Although Drew has shown that he can use his athleticism to make plays, whether it's to run to throw or to run to go and get a first down. But we all know, especially as defenders, how tough it is when you have a quarterback that really is mobile, that can hurt you with your legs. That's a whole another dimension to what you got to worry about as a defensive coordinator. And like you said, Alex, quarterbacks like that, like when we played Washington and Washington's backup quarterback Williams came into play, we were using Abdul as that spy, and we were able to keep him shut down because Abdul just has the athleticism to get sideline to sideline. He has the recognition that when that quarterback takes that first step that looks like he's to run, man, Abdul can close that. So, I mean, it would be really, really essential to have Abdul back. But I think in general, man, no matter what, it's going to start with stopping that run game, because the same way that our offense gets going is the same way that their offense gets going. So if we can make them one-dimensional, make this a type of game where Riley has to win it for them, I like those odds in general for that game, for what that game plays out looking like compared to, the running game gets going. Now Riley's got play action. Our linebackers are getting sucked up, and now it's easy throws because the windows are easy. It just becomes a little bit of a snowball, kind of like an avalanche. So if we can make this team one-dimensional, I'm very confident in us being able to stop Riley Leonard and our DBs being sticky enough in coverage.
I agree 100%. It's going to come down, in my perspective, what we do on first down so that we can get off the field on third down. We limit them on first down. Now they've got limited options, and you're able